Okay, here we go. Woodhouse, good to see you, brother. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles. It's CMF. Great to see you back again. Tor, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Good evening, Miles. It's CMF. Good to see you back in. Let's go. Vibe, good to see you as well. How you doing? Tell us the lowdown. Let's go. I'll tell you in a second. Let me just raise the brightness. Sorry about this, everyone. Okay. There we go. Now I can see. So, okay, let me start. Vibe, good to see you. How you doing? Woodhouse, Miles, I think you're a bit tanned. I think also too. Good to see you, Woodhouse. How you been? How you been? Avery, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Miles, evening, and CMF. Joe, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Welcome back, Pablo. Let's go. How you been? What's up, CMF? What's up, Miles? Kerry, good to see you. How you doing? You're a bit tan. I am a bit tan. Yes, I am. Let's go talk. Hi, Miles and CMF. Glad you're back. Let's go, Dennis. Nice tan you got. Thank you. Let's go, Kerry. Evening, Miles. Manny, good to see you. How you doing? Welcome home, Miles. Been missing the lives. Let's go, Jason. You look great, Miles. Thank you, JP. Looks like your business ventures ended up in business parties. It was a bit of both. It was a mixture of both. Good evening, Professor Miles and the rest of the family. Funky brother, good to see you. How you doing? Good day, Miles and CMF. Mike, good to see you. How you doing? How you been, Mike? Evening, Pure, good to see you as well. How you doing? I've been good, thanks. Woodhouse, let's go. Good to see you back. You, funky brother. Let's go. Finally, I was getting worried. I could not find you. Good to see you, Denise. Good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Thank you so much to everyone that's been retweeting the live show as well, right at the beginning of the live show. Thanks to everyone for the likes as well on X, because the notifications coming up one by one. You've lost weight, bro. Thank you, bro, for that as well. So I want to go through a gist of what we're going to be talking about tonight's live show. I'm going to go through a mixture of news on tonight's live show, and then we're going to do the disclaimer of this live show as always. And by that time, everyone's pretty much tuned in for the first part of the live show. So once again, thank you so much to everyone that's been retweeting the live show as well. Now, on tonight's live show, we are going to be going through. We're going to be going through Gary Gensler's new perspective on the market space, but also old perspective on market space. But Gary Gensler made a recent speech, again, about the crypto space, which we're going to go through what he talked about. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding the spot Ethereum ETF issues and regarding a free frenzy was going on as BlackRock and Grayscale and everybody else is pretty much setting their fees in for the Ethereum ETF. And then we're going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding there's a giant Bitcoin claim in the US and that Trump could change Bitcoin's fate next week. Now, there's a massive Bitcoin event happening inside the United States. Trump is going to be attending this Bitcoin event. The rumor has it that the rumor is coming from a founder of a Bitcoin-themed Satoshi Action Fund, basically, that he's suggesting that Bitcoin could be the reserve currency for the United States, is what Trump's going to be announcing. But it never goes with the rumors. But we'll go through what their perspective is and what Trump could possibly do next week. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Argentina and how they're going to be regulating their crypto market completely within Argentina, which is great to see. We are also going to be going through multiple other news in terms of different countries regulating the crypto market as well on tonight's live show. So the first one was Argentina. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding the MT Gox situation, where as the repayments that are happening, are people going to be selling off their Bitcoins? Could we expect more market volatility or not? According to a new survey, maybe not. We're also going to be talking about tonight's live show regarding Hong Kong. Hong Kong is unveiling its stablecoin issuer sandbox participation. So a digital sandbox is basically where companies can come and test out new blockchain features before it gets implemented on a much more wider scale. Now, Hong Kong has revealed a stablecoin, essentially sandbox, where things regarding stablecoins can be tested out within this sandbox before they get implemented on a wider range. Now, one of the banks involved in this scenario has a pretty good link to a blockchain company. I could put it up to you to guess what blockchain company could be involved in a stablecoin by Hong Kong. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Italy. Italy's top banks are participating in a $25 million digital bond issuance on Polygon ECB trial. Now, the first essentially nation to do a digital bond was Switzerland, which actually went pretty well for them. And the second one right now is Italy. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Ripple's CEO and his perspectives, and also Ripple's CEO unveiling a new buyback plan for Ripple as well, which shows that he does, see a very promising future for Ripple if they're going to be doing a buyback. We're also going to be going for tonight's live show regarding Greece and how they're going to be launching a crypto tax regulation starting next year. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding the Eurozone interest rate as well, where essentially the ECB is preparing for September rate cuts. Could rate cuts essentially be on the way from the European central banks? We're going to go through that on tonight's live show as well. We're also going to be going through Kraken and how Kraken, the crypto exchange, is essentially expanding to institutional clients within the United Kingdom and Australia as well, following the US launches they did. We're also going to go through the new Bank of International Settlements, essentially new requirements for banks who are going to be holding crypto assets such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding the Putin. Essentially, Putin has came out and said that Bitcoin might not be the ideal way for Russia to be moving forward, and CBDCs might be better. He said that because they're having quite a bit of issues regarding electrics in Russia. And because electrics are cheap in Russia, a lot of companies are setting up private firms, not letting the Russian government know that they're setting up Bitcoin mining institutions, and it's hurting their economy by the amount of electricity being used. We're also going to talk about tonight's live show regarding Ripple's CEO again, and how essentially him talking about regarding, is there going to be a settlement, is there not going to be a settlement, how far has the case gotten so far. He did an interview with Bloomberg. We're going to go through what he said on that interview as well. So quite a mixture of news to go through regarding regulations, Bank of International Settlements, Ripple's CEO, Greece, Argentina, different regulations, rate cuts, also the perspectives we're going to go through regarding Donald Trump and so on the market space. So quite a mixture of news to go through. And the first perspective we're going to go through on tonight's live show is regarding Gary Gensler. Now, before we go through any of that, welcome to the CMF live show. If you're watching for the first time ever, this live show is 101. This is episode 101. Welcome to the CMF live show. We are right now live on YouTube and X at the exact same time. So if you do have any questions, you can put it down inside the comment section. And I read everybody's comments one by one and give a response, because everybody's taking time out of their day to tune into this live show. So I want to give my respects back to everyone and answer everybody's questions. So if you do have a question, put it inside the comment section. And on this live show every single night, you can tune in. We talk about cryptocurrency, recent news that's happening around the world. We talk about cryptocurrencies. We talk about CBDCs. We talk about AI. We talk about politics, because it all plays a role in together for a digital future that we're headed into. And also, the disclaimer of this live show, as always, is not financial advice, not political advice, and whatever I say is only for entertainment purposes. So, welcome to CMF Live Show if you are new, and if you're regular, let's go CMF. I have been off for a little while because I was on a business trip, but now I'm back, and I've missed everyone and this live show, I'll be honest. So, before we go through the first news, which is regarding Gary Gensler, we'll go through the comment section first. Now, let's go through the comment section first. We were at first party, then you make the money, like the Wall Street in the movies. Let's go, Gary. Hello, Miles. Welcome back. Hey, love. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? How did you convince Germany to sell all their BTC? How did I convince Germany to sell all their BTs? Good evening, Miles and CMF. Bullex, hope you can see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles. Nice to see you. Welcome back, bro. Messi, good to see you. How you doing? Glad to see you. Paul, good to see you. How you doing? Good evening, Miles, and welcome back. And hi, all CMF. Freedom Forever. Good to see you. How you doing? I heard that the closed meeting of Ripple and the SEC was cancelled. What happened? We're going to go through that on our live show as well regarding the Ripple and SEC situation. It's due to Ripple or Brad. Brad did an interview, which we're going to go from tonight's live show. He did an interview with Bloomberg, and he did mention, and this is something that Brad has mentioned before as well, where he said that he doesn't want to settle with the SEC. Brad has no intentions of settling with the SEC. Unless the SEC says that essentially that XRP is not a security. If they say within their settlement that XRP is not a security, then Ripple Labs will, easily settle with the SEC. But that's the only way that essentially a settlement could happen between Ripple and the SEC, is what Brad said. And he also said this again on a Bloomberg interview, which we're going to go from tonight's live show. who said it was with Ripple? And that's a good question as well, because regarding this whole situation that's going around inside the crypto space, the anticipation of everybody assuming that, the meeting that happened behind closed doors, it could possibly have no relevance to Ripple whatsoever. There's also that to add into the equation as well, because it doesn't specifically say, it's a meeting SEC versus Ripple or so on and so on. It could possibly have no relevance to Ripple as well. It was just a rumor that was spreading around. Now, obviously the meeting was a real meeting and it was really cancelled, but we don't know what was actually going to be happening in that meeting, and that's where the rumor started from. So Messi has a good point as well. Good evening, Miles. Welcome back. We missed you. Good evening, CMF. Orphan, good to see you as well. How you doing? Miles, it seems like you're going to make up the 2 weeks news in one night. Easy, Tiger. You're all refreshed and firing. Let's keep on, good brother. Welcome, Miles and CMF. Semper, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? Hi, Miles and CMF. Stormy, good to see you as well. How you doing, Stormy? How you been? You look tan. Were you at the beach? Yes, I was. Miles looking awful tan. You sure you weren't beach? No, Semper, yeah. It was just a very hot country, multiple hot countries. Now, first news on tonight's live show is regarding SEC. How you doing, Miles? Nice to see you, brother. Same, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? So, SEC boss. Is that my brother from another mother? I'm back on the live again. Missed you, Miles. Hope all is well, CMF. Let's go. Ray, good to see you as well. How you doing, brother? Perfect time for the first news of the live show. The SEC boss. The SEC boss, Gary Gensler, issues a crypto warning. What could it mean? Possibly. U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission boss Gary Gensler recently reposted an investor alert about cryptocurrencies. As reported by You Today, the scam warning was originally issued by the agency in May. The SEC has stated that bad actors tend to take advantage of innovative technologies in order to promote essentially investment scams. In a recent investor alert, the agency specially mentioned celebrity meme coins in the wake of their increasing popularity. Apparently, Gary Gensler is now concerned with, this whole celebrity meme coin situation that's happening inside the crypto space. The SEC essentially issues these alerts, or more specifically, reissues the same ones. Whenever anything major happening on the hill of crypto, they don't like it. Alexandra Grave, the head of government relations at the prominent venture capital, essentially firm Paragon, said on a social media post on X. Such posts can coincide with some senators releasing a cryptocurrency bill. According to Grieve, in May, the SEC boss also warned that cryptocurrencies are unregistered securities. The head of highly influential regulatory agencies has attracted a lot of criticism within the crypto industry due to these seemingly hostile stance towards digital assets. As reported by You Today, Ripple CEO Brad also recently slammed Gary Gensler as a lunatic of his time. In the meantime, Gensler's former aide might be ending up lobbying for crypto firms after joining Policy Mindset. Apparently, more people have left Gary Gensler and his team and have decided to join crypto firms. Isn't it a bit ironic that the entire job of the SEC is to maintain essentially the market space, so essentially investors aren't getting scammed in the crypto space, in the stock market space, or any sort of market space? The SEC's job is basically to protect investors. But isn't it ironic that the SEC is suing every single crypto firm pretty much out there, major crypto firms, that they can make basically a quick buck from? But it's all ending bad for them, and everybody that leaves the SEC ironically goes and works for crypto firms. And even the SEC lawyers who left the SEC work for pro-crypto firms as lawyers. But yeah, on what they did say regarding celebrity meme coins, yes, please be aware there's too many scams happening inside the crypto space, as always. Regarding celebrity meme coins, just be careful about that. Now, spot Ethereum ETF issuers start a free frenzy. By that, I mean, essentially, because the Ethereum ETFs are right around the corner, BlackRock and everybody else that have applied for Ethereum ETF are right now doing a debate on who's going to have the lowest fees, essentially. So BlackRock could be possibly lowering its fees. We're going to go through by how much percentage and why this could have a positive reaction inside the crypto space, essentially, on not just Ethereum, but the entire crypto space market, because they're lowering their fees drastically, except Grayscale, as usual, being the downfall of the ETFs. But every other ETF maker out there is going to be lowering their fees to get Ethereum ramped up for their ETF. We're going to go through that news, but before we go through that, let's go inside the comment section first regarding Ethereum fees and ETF situation and how that's going to impact the crypto markets. So let's go inside the comment section first. Thoughts on Trump as vice president? Is that what you mean? And Messi, thoughts on Trump as vice president? Lucky Trump is alive. Imagine 4 more years with Biden and Gary. Welcome back, bro. John, good to see you. How you doing? Hello, Miles. You look like you got some sun. It's nice to see you back. Also, hi to the CMF. Troy, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Evening, Miles. Family looking good, Miles. Let's go, Ian. I am new here, but one question. What's BTC, down or up? BTC. Well, here's the thing. Javot, if you want to check the price point of BTC on a regular basis on your own phone, download an app called CMC, CoinMarketCap. It's completely free. You can track Bitcoin essentially 24/7, or you could just download an exchange app. But you could download CMC and you can have a view of every single cryptocurrency on the market space on a 24/7 basis and see where their prices are at. Miles, do you have an XRP bag? Miles, do you? Of course. Why would I not have an XRP bag is the question. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Welcome back, Miles. Looking very tan. Let's go, Ghost Spawner. How you doing? Do you think market will pump or dump when ETF Ethereum goes live? Good question. So Messi has asked the question of, do I think the market will pump or dump when the Ethereum ETF goes live? Well, the next news we're going to go from tonight's live show is regarding that matter of Ethereum ETFs. And if they do offer lower fees, then we're going to get a lot of investors coming in. Now, one of the main issues is that Grayscale was the downfall of the Bitcoin ETFs right at the beginning. When the Bitcoin ETFs happened and the market didn't react in a much more positive way right at the beginning was because of Grayscale. Grayscale, essentially had the highest fees for Bitcoin ETFs. Ironically, Grayscale had the biggest bag of Bitcoins and investors as well. And they became the entire downfall of the Bitcoin ETFs right at the beginning because on purpose, everything inside the corporate sector is completely coordinated. There's no such thing as coincidence inside the corporate sector. So Grayscale being, the heaviest bag holder of Bitcoin and investors going into an ETF, offering the highest fees was the entire downfall of the Bitcoin ETF situation because they essentially held on to everybody's Bitcoins for about 6 months lock period. And then the locks came off when the ETF situation was happening, which made a lot of people sell instead of buying into an ETF from Grayscale because Grayscale was offering the highest fees on Bitcoin ETFs. Now, some investors did leave to go towards BlackRock and so on. Now, Grayscale is again going to be offering a ridiculously high fee for the Ethereum ETF as well. And ironically, Grayscale has the biggest bag of Ethereum as well. So could essentially history repeat itself again with Grayscale right at the beginning of the ETF situation? Possibility. But we know what the upside is going to be. Hi, Miles. Did you get a tan? The tan looks good on you. Good to see you. Peg, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? And yes, I did. Trump has chose a VP. He's crypto pro. Oh, as in that matter of his VP. Yes, that's good. Miles not having XRP bag is like the Pope not having a Bible. Okay, so regarding the Ethereum ETFs situation. See, the spot Ethereum ETF issues start a fee frenzy. The Ethereum ETF market is about to get wild. Next week, several Ethereum ETFs are set to list. And the competition is already essentially fierce. To stand out, many issuers are slashing their fees, even waiving them entirely to attract investors towards Ethereum ETFs. According to information we got from Bloomberg ETF analyst James, these promotional discounts range from a full waivers to around 50% fee reduction. 50% fee reduction is what essentially these companies are offering to get people into Ethereum ETFs once the doors open so they could get floodgates of investors coming in. Now, the offers essentially vary in duration from 6 months to a year or until the fund hits a certain asset level. 7 out of the 10 proposed spot Ethereums are cutting their fees. Grayscale Ethereum Trust and Invisico Galaxy Ethereum ETF aren't going to be joining the fee war. So Grayscale is going to be offering their usual 2.5% fee, which is ridiculously high. And apparently Invisico Galaxy is going to be going the same route. It's a bit moronic, but they're going to be going the same route. Now, ProShares Ethereum ETF is also out for the race for now, lagging behind the registration process and not even expected to list next week. Among the fee cutters, Franklin Templin's ETF is leading the charge. They are waiving managing fees for a full year or until the fund reaches $10 billion in assets under management. Even after this period, their baseline fee is only 0.19%, the lowest among all of the Ethereum ETFs. The fees are for other spot Ethereum ETFs range between 0.20% and 0.25%, which is similar to the Bitcoin ETF situation. However, Grayscale's Ethereum Trust is essentially exception. Trading since 2017, Grayscale is sticking to its 2.5% fee, as essentially reported by Cryptopolitan earlier today. They're also launching a new product called Grayscale Ethereum Mini Trust with a more competitive fee for the first year or until an asset under management hits $2 billion. The Mini Trust will charge a 0.12% fee. So for some oddly reason, Grayscale does look like it's going to be repeating history again. Grayscale first offered the 2.5% Bitcoin ETF at 2.5%, which didn't really end well for Grayscale, and everybody left to go towards BlackRock. And then Grayscale decided to introduce the Grayscale Bitcoin Mini Trust with a much more competitive fee. It looks like Grayscale is about to repeat the same thing again. They're going to be offering a 2.5% fee for their normal Ethereum ETF. A little bit down the line, they're going to be offering the Grayscale Ethereum Mini Trust, which is around about 0.12% fee. They could just be offering that 0.12% fee pretty much right at the beginning to get the movement happening, but they want to be annoying instead. Now, 9 asset managers are in the fray. We got BlackRock, ARK Invest, 21 Shares, Van Eck, Grayscale, Fidelity, Bitwise, ProShares, Franklin Templeton, and then Invincible Galaxy Digital. Each fund is also identical, making fees a battleground. Van Eck comes second after Franklin Templeton's 0.20% and Invincible Galaxy Digital at 0.25%. The final list of fees will be revealed when the registration statements or the S1s are submitted to the SEC. This is expected to be happening essentially on Tuesday, right before the trading begins. The ETFs will be listed on NASDAQ, Chicago's Broad Option Exchange, the CBOE, and the New York Stock Exchange as well. James from essentially Bloomberg predicts that the demand for ETFs will be about 20% of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. This is due to Ethereum's market capitalization being roughly 1/3 of Bitcoin's. He also pointed out a drawback: investors won't be able to stake their Ethereum, missing out on yield generation. Despite this, James believes that ETFs will be extremely successful by any standard, and K33 Research has also had much of a bullish prediction. They estimate that in the first 6 months of trading, inflows will hit $4 billion, about a quarter of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. If K33's forecast is correct, 1% of all Ethereum in circulations could be absorbed by these ETFs by the end of the year. So 1% of Ethereum could just possibly be institutions holding on ETFs. Now, why is this also a good thing with this whole war of fees happening, with all these big names out there lowering their fees, putting 50% reduction fees, and so on and so on? Well, it shows that they do want momentum happening. They do genuinely want momentum happening inside the crypto space. If Ethereum does well on their ETF situation, it will be well, the entire crypto space market will do well. Obviously, the legitimate projects. But yeah, there's a massive war going on between fees, and that's a good thing because we get more investors coming in towards the market space. Now, there is a giant, and also if Ethereum does well, the rest of the ETFs coming after it are going to get a welcoming party coming in. Now, there's a giant Bitcoin claim in the US. Trump could change Bitcoin's fate next week. Here is what he'll allegedly do. Why it is he'll allegedly do? Because there's a massive Bitcoin event happening inside the United States. Trump is going to be attending this event. Apparently, if you offer, if you give about roughly $1 million, it's about 800,000 or something dollars in Bitcoins, you can have a sit down of a round table with Trump. If you pay $100,000, you can have a picture with apparently one of the politicians over there as well. Now, putting all that aside, what's actually going to be happening is apparently Trump is going to come out with some sort of a news that he's going to be backing the US reserves with Bitcoin. If that comes out, then obviously yes, and the market will react in a much more positive way and things will start shooting up. Is that what he's going to be possibly saying? Well, we're going to go through it. But before we go through it, let's go to the comment section first before we go through that news. So, Grayscale needs to own a big back of XRP2. I think they do own it already. I heard Joe Biden has withdrawn from the race. There is a lot of news going around, rumors of news going around that Joe Biden could be possibly out of the race. The funniest comment I ever read was that even Joe Biden is going to be voting for Trump after that situation that happened. Sorry, what? So, brother Miles, how are you, bro? We missed you. Let's go below. How you doing? Is there any XRP news, case news? Yes. Towards the end, we're going to go through XRP news. How big is it that the CMF group listing XRP 29th of July? Messi, elaborate. What's up, CMF? Shelly, JP, and everyone. Let's go below. Happy to see you, Miles. Hello, CMF. Lena, good to see you. How you doing? Peter, good to see you. How you doing? Hi, Miles. Glad you're back. Lena, I still haven't sent you a step-by-step guide regarding moving assets to Tangent, to storage cold wallets, and so on. Sorry about that. I will definitely send you step-by-step. If you haven't done it already, apologies. If you haven't done it, I'll send you the step-by-step of how to move assets to cold storage wallet from exchanges. Now, good to see you, Zolina. How you doing? There is a giant Bitcoin claim in the US. Trump could change Bitcoin's fate next week. Danny Porter, founder of Bitcoin-themed Satoshi Action Fund, made an incredible claim about BTC in his statement. Danny Porter claimed that Donald Trump, who will attend the Bitcoin conference that's happening in Nashville on July 27th, and he will declare Bitcoin as a strategic reserve for the United States. A strategic reserve refers to a reserve of goods or items held back from normal use by governments, organizations, or businesses aligned with strict strategies or to cope with unexpected events. In his statements, Porter said that he stood by his claims and it was based on his own sources. Continuing his statement, he said the following subject: adding Bitcoin as a strategic reserve to the US Treasury is very smart. And when the US does this, the program will shift the world and it will realize that they too essentially need to have a Bitcoin position. Regarding Trump going to be announcing, Bitcoin being a reserve asset for the United States, is there a possibility? Very, very low, extremely low possibility. For now, it's going to stay as a rumor. If he does say it, the market will react in a positive way. The crypto market will start going higher and higher and higher. If he doesn't say that, then the market will react the opposite way. Trust me. Now, also not financial advice in any sort of a way. But is it a smart move to have Bitcoin as a reserve asset for the United States? Possibly not. Now, some people might say, well, how could you say this? It's a great idea for Bitcoin to be a reserve asset for the United States and so on. But you've got to consider is a lot of countries that shouldn't be holding Bitcoin are holding Bitcoin in a ridiculous amount. And an asset like that could become volatile. And if an asset like that is in control of multiple nations, some nations that shouldn't have access to any sort of cryptocurrencies out there, it could end very bad. But accepting Bitcoin as, a source of payment or a source of reserves for people, ordinary people, that's okay. Why not? Now, but if he does say that, the market would definitely react in a much more positive way. But you've got to remember which countries hold Bitcoin. Just to put in perspective, a lot of countries that, again, shouldn't be holding Bitcoin, hold Bitcoin. And I can't go into a list of countries just in case, because if this live show, I might be crossing some sort of lines. But there are some countries that shouldn't be holding it. And if you check it up, you'll see what those countries are. And if those countries have access to a huge amount of Bitcoin, they could manipulate the price. And the United States is going to be using Bitcoin as a reserve asset. Those countries start manipulating the price, then that will end very bad for the United States. The United States already has about $30-something trillion in debt. The last thing they need is one of their reserve assets to go belly side up. Now, Argentina is the next news we're going to go from tonight's live show. Argentina to regulate booming crypto markets. is what we're going to go through. Now, it's a ridiculous idea. It is pretty much, yes. Good to see you back, Miles. Flea XRP, good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Hello, Miles, the CMF. Carol, good to see you. How you doing? CME Group, listening XRP and ICP. Ah, yes, they are. And Flea XRP, good to see you. How you doing? Hey, Bilal, how's it going? Great to see you. It's a ridiculous idea. It definitely is. Good evening, Miles and CMF. Great to have you back. David, good to see you. How you doing? They will hold XRP as a reserve. That would make more sense. I don't think it will ever happen, neither do I. Nice tan, brother. FlexOP, thank you so much for the kind words. And yeah, I'm with JP regarding the whole Bitcoin situation, but XRP makes more sense. Now, Argentina. Argentina to regulate the booming crypto markets. According to a recent report by returners, Argentina is on track to tame the rapidly growing cryptocurrency market with a new law. The move essentially is meant to combat illegal activities that are enabled by cryptocurrencies. The new law provides tax exemptions for those who declare up to $100,000 worth of digital assets. Due to concerns about money laundering activities, Argentina essentially started facing increasing pressure from the Financial Action Task Force, the FATF, a policy-making body. Now, if you're wondering who these Action Task Force are, essentially, it's a multitude of countries. The United States is a part of it. Canada is a part of Australia, United Kingdom, the EU. A lot of countries are part of this whole action, this Financial Action Task Force that's inside the crypto space. Now, this aims to fight financial crimes. In order not to appear as the FAT's much dreaded grey list, Argentina rushed to regulate digital assets. The registration of cryptocurrencies is supposed to be the first step forward for regulations, which is great. Argentina has long been known as one of the leading cryptocurrency hubs due to its economic woes. In fact, it recorded more than $85 billion worth of cryptocurrency transactions in 2023. Last November, Argentina elected a pro-Bitcoin libertarian Javier Milei as their new president, which has worked out very well for them so far. Recently, some publications reported that Argentina was considering making Bitcoin illegal under Milei's leadership, which it possibly has. However, these reports were incorrect and the president's comments were misrepresented. For now, it seems like Argentina is focused on providing the cryptocurrency sector with regulatory clarity instead of taking such radical steps as adapting Bitcoin as a standard. The idea of such a major country as Argentina adapting Bitcoin as its official currency seems to be too far-fetched, despite some pro-crypto statements made by its libertarian leaders. The country's central banks currently has to deal with such issues as devaluation and inflation, but they are going towards essentially a Bitcoin future. But what's good to see is another country coming forward to regulate essentially the cryptocurrency market space. And Argentina is doing quite big movements. So is El Salvador, to be fairly honest. But seeing countries come forward and essentially regulate their market spaces for the cryptocurrency market space is great to see. Honestly, it's absolutely amazing to see more countries coming forward, regulating the space. It brings a lot of investors in. If you're inside of legitimate projects, cash flow coming in essentially. Now, Mt. Gox creditors plan to hold Bitcoin after repayment. The biggest essentially debate inside the crypto space, one of the biggest debates inside the crypto space, was the Mt. Gox situation refunding people. All the people that are going to be receiving refunds from Mt. Gox going to be essentially selling off their Bitcoins, creating a volatile market space. Now, Germany was essentially selling off small amount of Bitcoins and so on, which created a much more volatile market space. And then at the same time, we had Mt. Gox refunding people. We thought, oh no, Germany's selling at one side, Mt. Gox refunding Bitcoin at one side as well. People are going to be selling off, they're selling off, market's going to be volatile. It turns out, according to a research report, that Mt. Gox refunders are not going to be selling their Bitcoins. The majority of them, which is good to see. But also, if they do sell, these institutions are going to scoop them up. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. But before I say any more on that specific news, we're going to go through it. But before we go through it, let's start the conversation first. Hi, Miles, the CMF. It's good to see you. It's time to turn on my CMF TV. Let's go through them. Good to see you. How you've been? Why Germany sold all those BTCs? They sold some amounts. Well, I'm your source, Miles. Let's go, JP. And Theodore, good to see you. How you doing? Hello, beautiful family. Great to hear from you again, Miles. Let's go, Comatose. How you been? So, Mt. Gox. The latest survey of MTGOX creditors shows that a significant majority plan to hold onto their bitcoins once they receive their repayments. This news comes amidst of the growing anticipation within the cryptocurrency market. Analysts are closely watching for potential market effects as these creditors await their long-awaited reimbursements. Interestingly, the current market sentiment suggests that the institutional engagements is having little impact on individual selling behaviors. MTGOX creditors lean towards holding Bitcoin post repayments. A recent poll reveals that a significant 55% of MTGOX creditors plan to hold onto their Bitcoins once they receive their repayments, the survey suggested, which included 467 participants. Essentially indicated that 260 creditors intend to retain all their received assets. In contrast, 18%, in other words, 88% of the participants plan to sell their entire holdings, with others obtaining for partial sales. So if only 18% are planning on selling, we're good to go. The essential indications to hold Bitcoin stems from its widespread adoption and significant value appreciation over the past decade. From its lows, Bitcoin surged to peaks exceeding $73,000, fueled in part by regulatory approvals like the SEC's not-to-spot Bitcoin ETFs. This growth has encouraged creditors to anticipate potential further gains. However, there is essentially a pressure in the crypto community about the impact of large-scale sell-offs of approximately 140,000 Bitcoin, estimated around $9 billion, distributed among creditors. Concerns mirror historical instances, such as the Bitcoin sale that was happening by the German government that briefly dropped prices to $55,000, underscoring potential volatility ahead. MTGOX creditors and the future of Bitcoin market dynamics. Despite concerns over potential market volatility, several market experts argue that the pressure of institutional investors inside the Bitcoin market space will likely dampen any abrupt reactions. These institutional players are entering the Bitcoin market in recent years, have contributed to the stability, potentially mitigating the essential volatility typically associated with large-scale individual sales. As MTGOX finally initiates settlements processes after a prolonged delay spanning a decade, more than half of creditors essentially express a strong intention to hold on to their Bitcoins. While market impacts remain a source of worry, the evolving landscape shaped by institutional investors could help absorb some of these effects. So, the situation of MTGOX, are people going to be selling off their Bitcoins when they receive their reimbursements from MTGOX, or are they going to be selling off their Bitcoins? It's about 140,000 Bitcoins, roughly about $9 billion that's going to be refunded. It's all in the process of refunding right now. Apparently, the majority of those people receiving those refunds are not going to be selling off their Bitcoins. So the market shouldn't become too volatile unless rumors start making the market volatile again. But people can change their opinions. This was one survey situation from the MTGOX refunders. They could, somewhere down the line change their opinions and when they do receive their refund and sell. But most likely, if they're intelligent enough, they wouldn't sell. If you brought your Bitcoins at, essentially back in 2010, and that exchange got compromised and now you're getting a refund on essentially 2024, yes, you are sitting on a huge amount of profits. It's common sense. You want to cash out some profits or all of it. But if you also have the intelligence to realize that essentially how far that Bitcoin has came from you buying it until now, and you realize, well, we could probably go further as well due to the implementations of regulations, due to countries moving into cryptocurrency regulations and so on, and the ETF space expanding essentially within multiple jurisdictions, then you would hold on. And it turns out that a lot of them do have intelligence and they decide to hold on to their Bitcoins even further, which is good. So that means the market won't become volatile. Now, next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding Hong Kong. Hong Kong is going to be unveiling its stablecoin issuer sandbox participation. A digital sandbox is where countries come and test out essentially within their own jurisdictions multiple blockchain startup companies, multiple blockchain companies, and so on. And before it goes on a much more wider scale for everybody to be using it. Now, Hong Kong has launched, essentially unveiled its stablecoin issuers in their sandbox participation. Now, one of the banks involved in Hong Kong's stablecoin sandbox is Standard Chartered Bank, which is ironically a Ripple partner as well. Now, before we go through that news, let's go to the comment section first. Frozen on my back, Troy. Hello, CMF. No drift. Good to see you. How you doing? How you been? Well, hello there, stranger. Look at you, all nice and tanned. Shelly, good to see you. How you doing, Shelly? How you been? Hi, Miles. Welcome back. It's been a while. Hope all is well. Alex, good to see you. How you doing? Everything's going great. How you been? So, Hong Kong. Hong Kong essentially unveils its stablecoin issuer sandbox participants. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority has unveiled the participants in its new stablecoin issuer sandbox initiative. According to the announcements, this program is a part of Hong Kong's ongoing efforts to foster innovation in the financial sector while ensuring robust regulatory oversight. Participants must adhere to sandbox regulations. Interestingly, the list of participants includes a mix of financial institutions, technology firms, and blockchain startup companies are all involved in Hong Kong's stablecoins. Among the prominent names are Standard Chartered Bank, Hong Kong Limited, Amico Brands Limited, and Hong Kong Telecommunications Company Limited as well. Likewise, J-Dong Coin Link Technology Hong Kong Limited and RD Innotech Limited are also part of the participants as well. Now, Standard Chartered Bank is also a representative. Each participant must adhere to regulations established for the sandbox. Initially, they will not be responsible for managing public funds, nor will they seek fundings from public or promote any essentially products linked to the sandbox. It is recommended that the public remain watchful for possible scams claiming to be associated with the sandbox. Any modifications to these guidelines will be communicated separately to the public by Hong Kong. During the consultation for stablecoin regulations, the Crypto Council for Innovations, CCI, made a strong statement and expressed its views. It highlighted potential burdens for global crypto businesses to join these strict rules. Also, it proposed that the regulatory agencies could consider a risk-based method similar to Japan's license approach. Do you know what's ironic about this whole Hong Kong stablecoin situation? The ironic part about this is that Tether, which is the number one stablecoin in the world, essentially the number one stablecoin in the world in terms of blockchain space, is Tether, USDT. Tether is not essentially in any sort of way involved in Hong Kong's stablecoin sandbox. And ironically, Tether wants to make their headquarters Hong Kong. But also, what's more ironic about that is Tether is not involved in any digital sandbox in any jurisdiction for any stablecoins. Tether doesn't really have a bright future ahead of itself. If the governments want to, they can halt Tether because they're not involved in any digital sandbox. Now, Miles, could you chaps failure get them to speed up blockchain adoption? Hey Casey, how's it going? No drift, let's go. How are you? Below. Okay, everyone's doing each other inside the conversation. Getting ready for the XRP news. Alex, let's go. We have XRP news as well to go from tonight's live show. All good, brother. How are your travels? All great. Absolutely amazing. Now, Italy is the next news we're going to go from tonight's live show. Italy's top banks are participating in inside of a 25 million euros digital bond issuance on Polygon in the ECB trial. Now, the first country to do any sort of digital bonds on the blockchain was Switzerland with 6 digitals. And it was around 250 million, which was successfully processed, no issues whatsoever, and that Switzerland is going to be greenlighting more digital bonds. Now, another country to be going down this route essentially is Italy. And it's not just Italy's random banks, it's their top banks that are getting involved. Global lenders and asset managers are increasingly exploring blockchain technology to issue and transfer traditional financial instruments. It's also known as tokenization of real-world assets. Italy's state-owned development bank Cassa Depositi and Intenso, the largest lenders in the country with over $1 trillion of assets, completed a digital bond issuance using blockchain rails on Thursday. The first such transactions under the country's new digital asset rules happened today in Italy. The 25 million euro bond for a 4-month maturity was issued by the CDP on the Ethereum-based blockchain Matic network. The Intenso being the underwriter and sole investor, according to a press release. The cash flow was settled in euros on the same day using the Bank of Italy's TIPS hash link tool that allows interoperability between blockchains and traditional payment rails. The transaction was the first digital bond issuance under the country's so-called fintech decrease law, which governs the issuance and circulations of digital versions of certain financial instruments, the bank said. The issuance was a part of the European Central Bank's ECB initiative to trial ways for wholesale fiat money settlements on blockchain. Global banks and asset managers are increasingly exploring ways to put traditional financial instruments such as bonds, credits, and funds on the blockchains, also known as tokenizations of real-world assets. They do also want to achieve operational essentially benefits such as faster and more transparent transactions as well, settlements, lower costs, and greater efficiencies. This transaction demonstrates how public blockchains are powerful technologies for financial institutions, making transactions faster and safer. Nicola Brodson, the head of digital assets trading and investments at Enterta, said on LinkedIn. Tokenizations is establishing a new standard for efficiencies and automation in financial markets, and I believe that this technology will impact not only bonds but every asset class over the coming years. He added, yes, it is true. It's obviously going to be affecting all asset classes over the coming years. If this bond is successful, which most likely it will be successful, then Italy is going to essentially issue a lot more digital bonds, same as Switzerland. First one was successful, they issued a lot more digital bonds as well. But again, it's great to see more countries going inside the blockchain sector and so on. But it also goes back to what I said as well, which is 2024 is basically when the world starts shifting into a digital era. This is actually what's happening as well. Now, next news we're going to go from tonight's live show is Ripple. Ripple CEO unveils a share buyback plan. Is IPO coming soon for Ripple? We're going to go through that on tonight's live show, but before we go through that, let's go to the comment section. So, what do you think about Sui? What do I think about Sui? It's an alright crypto project. I mean, it's not something I would say is a must-have in my portfolio. On your travels, did you see much adoption of crypto in terms of buying stuff? On my travels, did I see much in terms of cryptocurrencies? Okay, no, not much. I'll be honest. So for those that don't know, I recently, well, by recently, I mean yesterday, I landed in London. So I was on a business trip in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, Netherlands, Italy, South France, Monaco. So I've posted some videos of me on this business trip on the Telegram group. But yeah, I did a massive business trip, and I didn't see much adoption for in terms of cryptocurrencies, other than the meetings I was having and the conferences I was attending. But outside of those conferences and meetings, not much adoption in terms of that. But I was using my cryptocurrency bank cards, and they were actively working. So there's no issues on that subject. But no. But you can see progress happening in terms of contracts. But also, a lot more people knew about cryptocurrencies than before. See, previously when I traveled, not many people talked about cryptocurrencies or even knew what cryptocurrencies were. But this time around, when I was doing my business trip, even outside the conference and meetings and so on, regular people, even they knew what cryptocurrencies were. So that's something new. Back then, not many people knew what cryptocurrencies were even at all. So even though, I, for example, visited an island in Italy, and I was there because I wanted to talk to contractors and real estate agents and so on. And Italy has an island by the name of Sardinia. And Sardinia's island is about 95% not developed, which is a great place for business investments and so on. So I was having conversations with contractors and agents and so on in terms of Sardinia, the island in Italy. And it's in a beautiful location because, on one side you have south of France, on top you have Monaco, on this side you have Italy, on this side you have Spain. So it's in a perfect spot, the island, and great for developments. But anyways, putting that to one side, they are going crypto friendly as well, ironically. So Jeff Bezos is going to have a massive event a massive technology event in the island of Sardinia, and blockchain is involved. So some places yes, some places no, but more people talk about cryptocurrencies than ever before, is what I would have to say. Because a while ago, nobody was talking about cryptocurrencies. But yeah, regular people are talking about cryptocurrencies, which is good. In some places, we're adapting into cryptocurrencies, and some places we're a bit more quiet. But the contracts are still there to prove it. Now, Miles, can you tell us more about your business trip and what kind of partnerships you were able to secure? So the partnerships I was able to secure were essentially companies that are willing to join the blockchain sector and, essentially work alongside my company. Well, my startup company, my blockchain startup company called CoinMove. If you don't know what, if you didn't know that I do have a blockchain startup company called CoinMove, and I'm involved in real estate and essentially real estate, the automotive space, and so on. If you want to go check it out, that's on X as well. The page CoinMove.1. But I was able to close deals with companies that haven't joined the crypto space in any sort of a way, and I was able to bring them into the blockchain sector through CoinMove. I talked to contractors, agents, real estate agents, companies, construction companies, so all types of people that I wanted to get involved inside the real estate space. And I also talked to some automotive companies out there as well to get them on board, and some other companies that I can't reveal for the time being that I talked to as well, had some conversations with and signed some contracts. I can't talk about that. Some of those contracts is because I've signed NDAs and I can't talk about them. But I can talk about the categories, but I can't talk about the specific names of companies due to the NDAs. Now, all in all, amazing trip. All in all, it was an absolutely amazing trip. Loved every second of it. Had fun while signing contracts. Who doesn't have fun when, essentially signing contracts, because it shows progress for yourself and for your company. And yeah, everything was absolutely amazing. I met some great people, did some great deals, and caught a tan. But no, it was absolutely amazing, honestly. But the best highlight of the trip was two places. One was Monaco. Absolutely amazing. And the contracts that happened, absolutely amazing. But two was Sardinia. The island that's in Italy was one of the highlights. Absolutely amazing island. You would never think that an island like that would be in the EU, because you would picture an island like that somewhere in Bali, for example. But it's in the middle of Europe, and a lot of people don't know where it is. But it's an upcoming place. It's genuinely an upcoming place for investments. Now, Ripple is the next news we're going to go for today's live show. Did you get much pullback from people that can't see the progress coming and weren't interested? Well, in terms of, did I get anybody essentially having, not being in favor of cryptocurrencies and so on? No. There were, the majority of people that I talked to knew what cryptocurrencies were. The companies that I talked to had some sort of understandings of what cryptocurrencies are, but nobody that was against me in any sort of a way in terms of cryptocurrencies or blockchain technology and so on. And I think it's just got to a point where the majority of people have realized that crypto is one, because the debate inside the crypto space for the longest time, the debate was, crypto's here to stay, is what the crypto people would say, and the regular folks would say crypto is not here to stay, cash is here to stay. But I think it's got to a certain stage where even the regular people who still use cash to this day, or who still use bank cards to this day, are starting to realize that this world is shifting into a digital space. It's just got to that stage where a lot of people are starting to wake up more and more and more and realize that cash is fading away and we are going to the digital world. So did you get much pullback from people that can't see the progress coming and weren't interested? So no pullback, I'll be honest. The majority of people I talked to had basic understanding or extensive understanding, but nobody against it, not in any sort of way. I mean, I attended, for example, one night I attended Fifi Beach, which is on the north part of Sardinia. So on the north part of the island of Sardinia, there's a place called Fifi Beach, which was an amazing place, to be fairly honest. And the event at Fifi Beach is basically a club slash bar. And they have yacht parties and so on, but it's a club slash bar. And the people that attend Fifi Beach, some are just normal people going for a good night out, and some are very wealthy people attending Fifi Beach. And the event is always sponsored by some major companies. So the one I attended was essentially sponsored by AMG, so Mercedes-Benz AMG. It was sponsored by AP, the watch company, and some other major high luxury brands were there as well, and some high luxury, essentially wealthy people were there as well that I had some conversations with at Fifi Beach. All of them had a perfectly good understanding of blockchain. They had a perfectly good understanding of where it's going to be headed as well. And I had some great conversations at Fifi Beach with a lot of people. Some people knew what cryptocurrencies were, but they just didn't want to get involved. Out these groups of wealthy individuals. Some knew what Bitcoin was and so on, but they didn't want to get involved. And some knew what it was, and they were increasingly involved. Obviously, they only revealed up to a certain extent of how much involvement they have inside of cryptocurrencies to me, because I was a stranger to them. But we had a couple of drinks, and everybody shared a little bit of stories of some blockchain stories and so on, of how they did their first companies or how they did their first partnerships and so on. But yeah, amazing place, Fifi Beach, and great for business connects, Fifi Beach. Now, Miles, can you explain exactly why all institutions are so excited about tokenization? What are the positives, please? I'm aware of the fractionalizations. Okay, the reason why the entire essentially institution space is around the whole world excited incredibly about tokenizations is because one is because of the fractionalization, which you're fairly aware of, but that's what they're mostly excited about. It's the fractionalization. It creates a new avenue stream. The whole point of tokenizations is, one, it's faster to move around assets. Okay, it's a lot more quicker to move around assets, to sell them off or to buy them straight out. That's what the possibilities of tokenization gives, which, it's great for them. The second point, essentially the second point of tokenizations, is the transparency. The transparency that tokenization brings to the table. Now, on the basis of transparencies in terms of borrowing against your assets, for example, if you want to go to a bank and you want to borrow against your assets, you would have to prove to the bank that you own certain assets. You would have to go to your accountant in some cases, depending on how much you want to borrow from the bank. You go to your accountant, the bank will ask for more information if you have these assets, if you don't have these assets, and so on. If we live in a world where tokenization applies, then you could just walk into a bank and then you would say, I want to borrow this much against my assets. And the bank will say, well, what assets do you own? And you say this, this, and this. And because it's on the blockchain, because it's a tokenization situation, they can see what assets you own instantly. One, nobody lies. And two, it's much more easier for you to be able to borrow against your assets when everything's transparent, because the bank can just check on the blockchain, yes, you own this part of this asset or that part of this property or this, and so on and so on, in terms of tokenizations, and they'll easily be able to give you essentially a loan and so on. So the transparency part helps with being able to move around and borrow against your assets much more quicker. The fee structure also helps as well, because it's ridiculously cheap on fees moving around assets. But one of the most key parts is a new avenue stream. You see, for example, if there's a property that's extremely expensive, and there are properties like that around the world. For example, in the UK, we have one property that's too expensive, and whoever sells it buys it. I mean, essentially, whoever buys it sells it straight away. But there are properties around the world that are too expensive to be sold off. And when they do get sold off, they, go back on the market straight after. But what they can do instead is take that property, makes it into fractional, essentially tokenization situation where everybody gets involved, and it's a new avenue stream. It's one, creates more money inflows coming inside the market space, and two, if you're intelligent enough, make the right investments, you can do pretty well as well. But going back to the whole tokenization situation, for example, El Salvador is going to be building a hotel, Hilton Hotel. Hilton Hotel is going to be built in El Salvador next to their airports. But it's going to be a tokenization project where regular people can get involved and have a part of the Hilton Hotel, which also creates a new avenue stream for them as well. So one, it creates a new avenue stream. Two, brings them more cash flow inside the market space. Three, the transparency helps when you want to borrow against your assets. And four, the fees are ridiculously cheap to move around assets. So multiple positives. But the new avenue stream is one of the biggest positives for institutions. Well, that's terrific. Let's go, Shelly. Did you get some Fifi? So if I buy AMG through CoinMove, will be tax-free. We could work something out. Miles, are you holding ACH, HBAR, TON, Link, AVAX long-term, or which ones are you selling in the bull run? I'm going to be selling ACH in the bull run. I haven't decided I'm going to be selling all of it or not, but I'm going to be selling ACH. HBAR, I'm on the verge of maybe holding off on not selling. TON, I'm selling. Link, I'm selling. AVAX, I'm selling. But the ones I'm not definitely going to be selling is, XRP, XDC, and XLM, because the way they're going to be implemented in the financial system, I've held on for this long. I can hold on more, in other words. It's because I read all the documents. But yeah, Shelly, ACH, 50-50 on selling it. HBAR, 50-50 on selling it. TON, selling. Link, selling. AVAX, selling. Thank you, Miles. Well said. Freddie Pepper, let's go. So, Ripple is the next news we're going to go from tonight's live show. Ripple unveils a share buyback plan. Is an IPO coming soon for Ripple? Ripple, amidst the ongoing SEC lawsuit, has revealed plans sparking optimism in the recent Fortune Brainstorm Tech 2024 discussions. The firm's CEO, Brad, revealed the firm's share buyback plan. Further insights on the company's IPO plan, where it also shared, essentially, the CEO revealed that Ripple Street moved to repurchase $1.4 billion worth of shares from investors and employees, which comes at a critical time for the company when it's battling the SEC allegations. This part is quite interesting. The buyback is viewed as a sign of confidence in the firm's long-term prospects. He stressed that the buyback is a part of a series of tender offers displaying the firm's commitment to its stakeholders. If Ripple is deciding to buy back about $1.4 billion worth of their own company shares, and again, as it was suggested, in a very critical time frame, if you look at what Brad said when he was asked the question of when is this case going to come to an end, Ripple versus SEC, when is it going to come to an end? Brad said it's going to happen sooner than you think. And then he said it's going to happen this year, end of summer. And then now it comes out with the news of Ripple's going to be doing a buyback situation, buying back all their shares, about $1.4 billion worth of shares from their investors and employees at this critical point in time where they're battling the SEC. This case is about to come to an end this year. I said this multiple times. This case will come to an end this year. Ripple buying back about $1.4 billion worth of their shares from their investors and employees. Yes, it shows confidence without a doubt, but it also shares what's going to happen, what's going to be happening next, which is this case is going to be dissolved pretty much this year, which means this move of $1.4 billion is incredibly intelligent by Ripple. It just shows you that this case will come to an end this year. Now, Brad's comments highlighted the importance of this move, indicating that it was a strict decision rather than an essential rational one. Investors view this as a positive step, signaling the company's financial stability and growth potential. Also, Ripple's decision to proceed with the buyback, despite in essentially being of legal challenges, shows his resilience. Besides, he also said that the share buyback plan is a new development that had not been disclosed publicly before. Ripple's IPO plans. About Ripple's IPO plans, Brad clarified that the firm does not have imminent plans to go public. While he pointed out that there are essentially the clarity of XRP's status as a non-security after the federal judge ruling, on the other side, he expressed frustration of the lack of clarity for other cryptocurrencies inside the US. Furthermore, the Ripple CEO expects a resolution of the long-standing case with the SEC in a recent Bloomberg interview, which we're going to go from tonight's live show as well. Now, the whole Ripple situation, the whole buyback situation is a massive positive, because it does show that Ripple is going to be ending this case this year. If they're going to be essentially making a purchase of $1.4 billion worth of shares from their investors and stakeholders, they're doing it on purpose so they can have a majority share going through this situation. Because they know the case is going to come to an end this year, that they know that they'll be doing better if they own more shares of their own company going forward. These are all positive steps. All very, very good positive steps. Now, next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding Greece. Greece is going to be launching its crypto tax regulations starting next year. But there's a very interesting part inside of this whole news which we're going to go through regarding Greece and the EU in terms of what's actually going to be happening. Before we go through that, regarding that matter, let's look at the comment section first. Hyper Sniper, good to see you. How you doing? Getting multiple notifications that Biden hasn't officially dropped out, but will withdraw from president race. Let's go, Ray. Now, Greece to launch crypto tax regulations next year. Cryptocurrencies is becoming a big deal in Greece. Now, you might be thinking this only applies to Greece. It has no relevance to anybody else. Wrong. It has relevance to every EU citizen, also G20 country nations. Cryptocurrency is becoming a big deal in Greece, especially among people in their 30s. Accountants and tax experts say more and more Greeks have seriously gotten into crypto. But there is a huge problem. There is no tax frame for it. The tax authorities don't even recognize cryptocurrencies, making it tough for both traders and the government. A special committee has been set up to take care of the issue. By September, the committee will essentially present its findings to the Ministry of National Economy and Finance. These findings will guide the new tax regulations set to roll out in January 2025. Reportedly, crypto profits will be taxed as capital gains from the sale of securities at a rate of 15%. The committee's findings will cover three main areas. First, they'll define and record all types of cryptocurrencies. This means that figuring out exactly what counts as cryptocurrencies and making sure there's a clear list. Second, they'll determine how these crypto assets will be taxed. And then finally, they'll set up a process for monitoring and enforcing these tax rules. Right now, many investors are exploiting the lack of regulations. At least that's what the government claims. Very few people actually make their crypto profits known, and those who do are often unemployed or have no income but have invested heavily into real estate. This loophole lets them cover their living expenses without reporting their crypto earnings. At the moment, Greece is in a transitional phase with crypto regulations. The country is preparing for a full implementation of the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, the MICA, across the European Union. Until December 30th, crypto-related services in Greece are going to operate mostly unregulated, with some expectations. Companies that exchange cryptocurrencies for fiat money or offer custody services for cryptocurrencies must register with the Hellenic Capital Market Commission, HCMC. This is one of the few areas where some regulations exist, but it's not comprehensive. There's a transitional period from December 30th to July 1st, 2026. During this time, firms essentially already registered with the HCMC will continue providing services without full MICA authorization. Whether Greece adapts these transitional measures will impact how businesses operate in the short term. After July 1st, 2026, this is the interesting part. After July 1st, 2026, all crypto service providers must be fully authorized. Essentially must be fully authorized either in Greece or another EU member state, in the European Union, in other words. This means stricter oversight and compliance requirements for these businesses. Companies will need to get their act together to meet these new standards. So the idea for the longest time was cryptocurrencies are going to be, getting fully green lighted by 2030, is what some have suggested, and also 2035, and so on and so on. And I've always been the person that said, nope, it's going to happen much more sooner than you think. Now, the time frame that is actually set up is 2024 to 2028. Is the same time frame that essentially was discussed by 2027 by the World Economic Forum, was discussed by the Bank of International Settlements, the International Monetary Fund, and so on. And I've said this for a while now. And the European Union is going to be fully into regulations, full regulations. And if you're not inside or within those regulations, you cannot be nowhere near the European Union by 2026, starting now, and then the deadline essentially being after July 1st. After July 1st, 2026, everything is pretty much fully regulated. Everything. Already, the EU is going to be in regulations. And if you're not compliant, you can't operate in the EU. Tether, for example, cannot be operating in the EU because they're going to have they're going to be struggling majorly. And apparently Tether is angry about that situation, but Tether can easily resolve that situation by maybe being transparent. But that's something Tether can't do. If they could, to be in the EU. But either way, even 2026 is going to come down. It's going to be 2025. But it shows you at what stage we're going to be fully sitting at. Because if, let's just go by this time frame of 2026 on their basis. But before, also just to point out, the EU before was saying 2030. A while ago, the EU was saying 2035, to be fairly honest. And then they said 2030. And then I was still saying it's much more sooner than that. And it became 2029, 28, 27, 26, and now it's 26. But it's going to be 2025. But it does show you the stage. It shows you the stage of where we're at. And strict compliance and oversight is what's happening next, which some people might see it as a bad thing, strict compliance and oversight. And some people might see it as a good thing. Honest answer is regulations. Like it or not, regulations are going to be happening. And I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's about choosing projects that benefit from regulations. If you choose crypto projects that go against regulations, you're a moron. There's no way around it, I'll be honest. If you choose crypto projects on purpose that go against regulations, you're a moron. You're going up against governments who make the regulations, and you think somehow you're going to be coming out of this battle winning. How's that possible? The easiest way to win is, in the long term, choosing projects that are going to be benefiting from crypto regulations, that benefit when more institutions come inside the play, that benefit from banks coming inside the crypto space. That is how you do well. Not by going against the system. If you go against the system, thinking you're in crypto and you're going against the system and you're going to win, you're a moron. There's no way around it. If you haven't realized by now of how much power governments have in any market space, then what are you doing on this planet? Is the real question. But Greece has already implemented some anti-money laundering, such as AML measures for their service providers. These include customers' due diligence requirements, maintaining a centralized register of ultimate beneficial owners, and appointing an AML compliance officer as well. So Greece is what I've talked about on tonight's live show as well, essentially going towards crypto regulations. I also talked about a few other countries on tonight's live show as well. But the next news we're going to go for on tonight's live show is regarding Eurozone. Eurozone interest rates holds at a 3.75% as ECB prepares for September rate cuts. Are we going to be getting rate cuts in September from the EU banks? Possible or not? Before we go through that news, let's go to the comment section first. Miles, is RLUSD coming in Q3? I read that somewhere. It is. Sort of. So Ripple's stablecoin, which is under RLUSD, which Brad calls it the real USD, is this year is what is confirmed is this year. Is it going to be a Q3 possibility? It's going to be either Q3 or Q4, but it's coming out this year either way. So I'll double check it for you, Shelly. After the live show, I'll double check it for you. But Q3 or Q4 is what's going to be happening. Eurozone. I pretend like I don't know what does that mean for XRP's price. For XRP's price regarding regulations, extremely well because one project doing CBDCs and that's XLP. Now, Eurozone. Eurozone interest rates holds at a 3.75% as ECB prepares for September rate cuts. Hey, Miles, good to see you. When rate cuts happen, do you anticipate a market sell-off? Yes. Is that what Cam was referring to as well regarding rate cuts? Yes. Okay. When we do have rate cuts, the market will react, not in a very much positive way. So when we have rate cuts, people will traditionally run towards traditional assets. When we don't have rate cuts and inflation is going crazy, people will run the opposite way, in other words, digital assets. But things can change. Not always does it have to go the same way. So consider variable change is what I would say. A sentence that I haven't used for a very long time, this slogan that I use all the time. Consider variable change is what I would say. The majority of the time, history will always repeat itself. Sometimes just consider variable change. Speed bumps can happen. I pretend like I don't know. What does that mean for example? If we do have rate cuts, not much. The decision for XRP to do well is only for the case. So it wouldn't make it go drastic down in any sort of a way, is what I would say. Hey, Miles, good to see you. When rate cuts happen, do you think the market's up? Some sell-offs happening inside the market space, yes. But also still consider variable change. Parker, good to see you. How you doing? And for Ripple, it wouldn't make a difference for them regarding rate cuts. Now, the European Central Bank, for the rest of the crypto space, it will impact them. Ripple has its own issues going on right now, the SEC situation, so rate cuts is the least on their page, on the worries. But the rest of the cryptocurrency market space can be affected by rate cuts. The European Central Bank, ECB, decided to keep Eurozone's market interest, essentially their Eurozone's interest rates steady at 3.75%. However, they hinted at a possible rate cut in September. This decision comes as we're all eagerly looking forward to the Federal Reserve's first rate cuts since 2020. All over the world, central banks are either cutting rate cuts or considering it. Inflation is easing from its highest levels in decades. Investors are essentially curious about how quickly and how much major banks will be lowering their borrowing costs. These decisions affect traditional financial markets, cryptocurrencies, and even real estate. Last month, the ECB cut its key interest rates by a quarter point to 3.75%. This widened the policy gap from the Federal Reserve, which has kept its rates steady between 5.25% and 5.5% for 7 meetings in a row. Right now, investors expect both the ECB and the Federal Reserve to cut rates by a quarter point in September. The International Monetary Fund, the IMF, warned that this week that the worsening public finances have made many countries more vulnerable to economic shocks than expected before the pandemic. Elections in America and Europe could affect government debt, inflation, and the global economy. The ECB's president, Christine Lagarde, said that their decision on a possible September rate cut is wide open. She downplayed fears of persistence, essentially price pressures, in her most recent press conference. She said that what we do in September is wide open and will be determined on the basis of all the data that we'll be receiving. In other words, consider variable change, is what she's saying in a very simple way. The ECB's governing council has no desire to share its rate cuts plans with the public. Though after the meeting, several council members reportedly said that there was a clear argument to leave options open for September. They've said that the service inflation's staying above 4% is a worry and could essentially delay a rate cut later this year. Let's come back in September and have another look, one member said. Inflation slowed to 2.5% in June from a peak of 10.6% back in 2022. Lagarde believes that it is right on track to reach the 2% target by the end of next year. Although Eurozone's inflation is on the track of not doing too well for itself, the ECB needs to keep rates high. We will stay in restrictive territory for as long as it takes to get the target, and we're not at a target right now, is what Lagarde said. So is the EU going to be having rate cuts? Possibly not anytime soon, which is good for the crypto space market, to be fairly honest. Now, the next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding Kraken. Kraken is going to be expanding its institutional clients to the United Kingdom and Australia. They did this first inside the United States. Now they're expanding over to Australia and the United Kingdom. They're going to be, in terms of institutional clients, which again is great to see. More essentially crypto exchanges should be following their footsteps. Now, before we go through that news, let's go start the comment section first. Well, we have time to sell some after the settlement, like should some to exchanges now in preparation, or wait? How quickly will it go down? I'm asking. How quickly will, in terms of XRP will go down, or in terms of the interest rates happening in the market will go down? It wouldn't last too long. The XRP situation could go down quickly, bounce back up after the case situation, or it could, go drastically down for 1 or 2 days before it starts climbing again. It could go either way, to be very honest. 1 or 2 days, or climbing straight after. Now, Kraken custody. Kraken custody expands to institutional clients, UK and Australia. Kraken Institutional has expanded its custody services to new and existing clients in the UK and Australia. The move follows a launch of Kraken custody in the US in March, designed to let institutions store, manage, and transfer funds securely within a single, essentially, interference integrated with the rest of Kraken's, essentially, product suites. We anticipate demand for qualified custody solutions will continue to grow alongside the crypto products space, said a Kraken spokesperson, essentially, to the block at the time. Kraken claims that the market is seeking more custody alternatives, launching its institutional services in February after BlackRock, Franklin Templeton, and Grayscale Investments tapped Coinbase as their spot Bitcoin exchange traded fund custodian. Custody has always been integral to the institutional crypto space, and the recent success of Bitcoin ETFs has only underscored the need for a broader range of qualified custodians. The Ovlinge, the head of Kraken's institutionals, said essentially that Kraken has 12 plus years of experience in safeguarding client assets, and a qualified custody solution is a core, essentially, part of the full service institutional offerings. Kraken custody is offered via Kraken Financials, a US-based state chartered bank that segregates clients' digital assets from the Kraken exchange. The expansion follows reports from last month that Kraken may aim to raise more than $100 million in a final funding round before potentially going public next year. So Kraken going to be opening their doors to institutional clients in the UK and Australia, which is great news to be hearing. And honestly, it's going to be doing quite well. I'll be honest. A lot of institutions, and what Kraken is doing is also what IBM has done for a while now. So if you didn't know, IBM, Ripple, and Metaco came together to create self-storage custody wallets for institutional clients. High-grade self-storage custody wallets, cold storage wallets. It's been going quite well for IBM, Ripple, and Metaco. They've been in this for quite a while now in Hong Kong. Kraken has decided to join this venture as well. Hope it does very well for them, to be fairly honest. Now, Bank of International Settlements. Bank of International Settlements' new requirements for banks looking to hold XRP and other Group 2 assets as well. The Bank for International Settlements, which is the banks of all central banks of 63 centralized banks, including G20 countries, has raised new requirements for banks looking to hold XRP and other Group 2 crypto assets. The Bank of International Settlements, which positions itself as a bank for central banks globally, has introduced new regulations governing banks to exposures to Group 2 cryptocurrencies. Notably, the Bank of International Settlements had in the past defined what Group 2 crypto assets are in an effort to separate them from other cryptocurrencies. The Bank of International Settlements has chosen essentially a handful of crypto projects to put a difference on them between essentially normal cryptocurrencies and these 3 particular cryptocurrencies. I think everybody could take a guess of what these 3 particular cryptocurrencies are that the Bank of International Settlements is in favor of. So, in terms of regulations and putting a different title on them, Group 2 assets include unbanked crypto assets such as XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. The category also contains stablecoins that lack effective stability mechanisms according to the Bank of International Settlements classification, and these assets are riskier due to their volatility as well. The Bank of International Settlements' latest requirements for bank holding cryptos. In the latest requirements, the Bank of International Settlements that essentially said that banks' total exposure to all these Group 2 assets must not exceed 1% of its Tier 1 capital. For the uninitiated, the Tier 1 capital represents a bank's core capital. This capital is a primary financial buffer that absorbs losses, ensuring the bank's stability. Per the Banks of International Settlements requirements, if a bank with $1 trillion in Tier 1 capital seeks to hold XRP, for example, and other assets in Group 2, the combined worth of all assets must not be more than $10 billion. In addition, the Bank of International Settlements had no single Group 2 cryptocurrencies and that can essentially constitute more than 5% of their total Group 2 holdings. To put that into perspective, if the bank's total Group 2 holdings amount a $10 billion in XRP holdings alone must not exceed $500 million. The same applies to other Group 1 assets as well. These limits are an effort to reduce the risk posed by the fluctuating values of these crypto assets. While cryptocurrencies have gathered essentially public attention in recent times, certain events have exposed the risk associated with them. These events include the Terra situation, the Luna situation, the FTX situation of collapse, and so on. Per the publication, the Bank of International Settlements' recent requirements are set to take effect January 1st, 2026. Ironically, it lines up with the European Union as well. By the way, 2027 is when all the banks essentially are going to be closing down their branches, is what was mentioned back in 2023. The criteria could reshape how financial institutions interact with assets like XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. XRP adoption among banks as crypto goes mainstream. Crypto regulations have taken focus in recent times as the industry pushes further into mainstream scenes. For instance, European Union recently enacted the first part of its MiCA regulations affecting essentially stablecoins. Now, mainstream banks have begun gaining exposure to crypto assets. Recall that December of the Basel Committee disclosed the crypto holdings of 19 banks across different regions, which essentially I revealed on this live show back in December, essentially that there are 19 banks that are holding crypto assets, and I revealed to everybody the top 6 cryptos that they were holding. Now, recall that last December, the Basel Committee disclosed the crypto holdings of 19 banks across different regions. The disclosure confirmed that these banks held about $205 million in XRP at that time. Despite this, essentially, XRP is still facing a lawsuit, which is impacting it just slightly. But other than that, the new Bank of International Settlements essentially document coming out and revealing a step-by-step type of structure of what banks can hold and how much they can hold and so on. Essentially, the projects that they can go towards is XRP, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. Is an interesting one to see. All in all, positive. What the Bank of International Settlements has came out with is absolutely positive. Extremely bullish. Now, next news to go from tonight's live show is regarding Putin. But before we go through that news, let's go to the comment section first. How about XLM? XLM was not on it, but it does also it could be considered as a Group 2 as well. But XLM has been mentioned by the Bank of International Settlements multiple times. Happy Pisces, good to see you as well. How you doing? How you been? But XLM is also considered a Group 2 tier by the Bank of International Settlements as well, technically. They've been referenced in other projects, in other documents. Now, Putin warns of power shortages from Bitcoin mining, calls for expansion of CBDCs. Russian President Vladimir Putin warned that crypto mining could lead to significant power shortages in some regions of their country, while calling for an expansion of central bank digital currency CBDCs instead, the digital rupee. Putin said that Bitcoin and other crypto mining facilities' uncontrolled electricity consumption is already causing power shortages in several areas. including many regions in Russia, which I cannot pronounce. It's quite a lot of regions in Russia, and they all have extremely difficult names to read out. Now, he called the issue acute and fraught with serious consequences to expertise, residential areas, and social facilities, potentially halting investments and infrastructure projects. Putin noted that the crypto mining in Russia uses 16 billion kilowatts annually, or 1.5% of the country's total electrical consumption, and said that usage is rising. He attributed the growth of Russia's low electricity prices and the ease of moving mining equipment. He described instructions for the federal mining legislations, including taxations and tariffs. On July 17th, the Agence France Presse said Russian lawmakers are set to discuss draft legislations that permits only approved companies to engage in large crypto mining operations, while allowing the government to ban minings in regions and energy shortages. 1 week earlier, Russian newspaper said that the State Duma Committee on the Financial Markets approved a draft bill to essentially regarding crypto minings in Russia, while banning cryptos from circulations. Russia's current laws reportedly ban crypto settlements, but not in circulations. Extension of CBDC post-pilots. During the last hearings, Putin also said that the country's most moved to a wider full-scale implementation of its CBDC, the digital ruble. He said that the country's digital ruble pilot has achieved over 27,000 transfers and 7,000 payments for goods and services, demonstrating the asset's performance and functionality. He reportedly participated from 12 banks, 600 individuals, 22 trades and services and enterprises across 11 cities. An earlier June report, chairman of Russia's State Duma's Financial Markets Committee said that Russia could begin using its digital ruble domestically in the second half of 2025, following testings for domestic transactions. So, what we do pick up from that scenario is that Russia's not really in favor of Bitcoin anymore, because Bitcoin is causing massive, in Putin's words, massive electricity shortage problems. However, Putin is not against blockchain. He's very in favor of CBDCs. So apparently Russia is getting ready to move more towards CBDCs, since the transactions have been doing quite well in the test phase, in the real transaction, real money. Just a small group of people are using it. So so far Russia has done 27,000 transfers in digital rubles, CBDC Russian money, 27,000 transfers, 7,000 payments for goods and services, and demonstrating the asset's performance and functionalities. And 12 banks and 600 individuals are involved in this whole period of time. Real money. So far going quite great for them. Now, what it does show is that Russia's not really in favor of the whole idea of Bitcoin, because the electrical problems is causing them. However, CBDCs they can move forward with. One crypto project benefits from CBDCs, and everybody knows what that is. If you don't know what that crypto project is that benefits from CBDCs, then why are you in the crypto space? Should be the bigger question. But it's Ripple. As I've said previously, 24,000 crypto projects, and there's only one doing CBDCs, ironically, and one that has a CBDC platform, and also one that has multiple CBDC awards. It's Ripple. Couldn't be that. Honestly, the whole world, if you haven't realized by now, the whole world is moving towards not just blockchain technology in terms of tokenizations and so on and so on, but in terms of CBDCs. If you haven't realized by now, and you're in the crypto space, which makes them, the whole world is shifting towards CBDCs. Now, you might be hearing the news of certain politicians banning CBDCs, or even certain, essentially prime ministers or even presidents trying to ban CBDCs. Either way, it won't work, because the Bank of International Settlements wants CBDCs, and so does the World Economic Forum, which means the Bank of International Settlements and the World Economic Forum get CBDCs. It could be more simple than that. But if you haven't realized by now, the whole world is shifting towards CBDCs. The whole world. There's not a single country out there right now that's not in some sort of stage of CBDCs. According to the Bank of International Settlements and the International Monetary Fund, about 98% of the world is either in research, test phase, or implementation stage of CBDCs. And there's about 24,000 crypto projects. And as I said previously, in some areas, the AI space is, such a competition happening in the AI space of blockchain, gaming, blockchain. There's competition happening there, and so on, Web3 and data and so on. There's so much competition happening inside the crypto space in different categories, but there's only one project doing CBDCs. Ironically, that one project has won CBDC awards. Ripple has won CBDC awards. Ripple is the only one with a CBDC platform, and every country is going into CBDCs. If you can't put 2 and 2 together, then why are you in this space should be the bigger question. Honestly, every country is going towards CBDCs. There is one crypto project with a CBDC platform that's already been implemented in some countries. And that one crypto platform and that one crypto project has also won CBDC awards. 24,000 crypto projects, one doing CBDCs. And people still to this day would argue the point of Ripple's not the chosen one. People shouldn't be arguing Ripple's not the chosen one and so on and so on by the financial systems. To me, it just shows the level of brain cells you have, which is pretty much none if you are on that stage. Because honestly, you don't need to be a genius to figure it out. 24,000 crypto projects, the whole world is moving towards CBDCs. One project is doing CBDCs. One project has a CBDC platform. One project has won multiple awards for CBDCs. Honestly, how could you not put 2 and 2 together? Now, on the topic of Ripple and on the topic of CBDCs, we're going to be talking about Ripple's CEO. He did an interview with Bloomberg as well, which I said we're going to go through later on tonight's live show, which is now. Ripple's CEO on Bloomberg says that settlement with the SEC is close as XRP is not a security. Now, before we go through that, let's start the conversation first. When you say Ripple would buy back some XRP, how they do that? Off an exchange? No, Ripple's not buying back XRP. They're buying back their own company shares. They're not buying back XRP. Ripple's not buying back XRP. They're buying back company shares, which shows confidence within Ripple's own company, which shows confidence within Ripple's own products. But no, they're buying back shares, not XRP. Let's go XRP. Let's go with XRP. Long time Miles. Let's go Prom. How you doing? How you been? Now, Ripple CEO on Bloomberg says settlement with the SEC is close, as XRP is not a security. Ripple CEO's Brad expresses optimism on his interview that he had with Bloomberg. He expresses optimism about reaching a final resolution soon in the lawsuit against the U.S. Exchange Commission, SEC. The Ripple executive assaulted during a recent Bloomberg Markets, the closed interview. While essentially Brad is optimistic about an imminent resolution, he acknowledged that the uncertainty in predicting the timing of the highly anticipated final judgment. He said that we expect resolution very soon. This is what Brad said on a Bloomberg interview. He said, we expect resolution very soon, but we can't predict exactly when the judge will rule, said Brad, but expect it very soon. This is not the first time that Brad has essentially speculated an imminent resolution on the SEC lawsuit. Last month, he predicted that Judge Torres would issue the final verdicts this year, especially before the end of summer 2024, which is true. Brad did say this, and I revealed this on this live show before. Now, Brad also declines to comment on the ongoing settlement talks with the SEC. During a recent interview, Romain, one of the anchors of Bloomberg's The Close, asked Brad to comment on whether the company is currently in settlement talks with the SEC. Is Ripple in talks with the SEC regarding settlements? Was the question essentially that Brad was asked. Responding, Brad refused to provide specific comments on the matter due to probably legal basis. He said, I cannot comment on that ongoing settlement talks right now, which makes sense. You typically can't comment on ongoing lawsuits. However, he can talk about some things, but he can't talk about the actual part that people want to know. Now, however, he acknowledged that Judge Torres has provided clarity on major aspects of lawsuits during a summary judgment decision issued on July 13, 2023. Final piece of the SEC lawsuit. He stated that the only piece currently under litigation relates to the company's XRP sales to institutional investors. The ruling has been clear from the judge. There is one final piece, as you referenced, investments contracts sold to institutions, Brad added. Recall that Judge Torres held that XRP institutional sales constitutes investment contracts. The parties are currently in remedies phase, awaiting the court's final judgment that could determine the appropriate penalty for Ripple's security law violation. Debates about possible settlements in the SEC versus Ripple. Meanwhile, the issue of potential settlements in the lawsuit has stirred a major debate within the crypto community. While some people speculated that the lawsuit could end in a settlement, others believe the case would be decided by a court verdict. Notably, Ripple is open to settling the lawsuit if the SEC labels XRP a non-security. Conversely, the regulator has not publicly shown interest in a settlement, which is true. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Brad will only settle if the SEC gives them something that they need, which is basically XRP non-security. Gary Gensler comes out and says XRP is non-security. That's pretty much all Brad needs, and he'll pay pretty much any fine to move forward. Credibility is what Brad is looking at for XRP. Just credibility. They want that credibility walking out those doors, those court doors. But yeah, Brad was asked multiple questions. Some he could answer, some he couldn't answer. Either way, him staying back, essentially standing by what he said, is also a positive outlook as well. Because Brad coming out and stating that essentially, they're going to be getting a resolution sooner than expected. This whole case is going to be coming to an end sooner than expected this year and so on. He's still standing by what he said, even on a Bloomberg interview, which again is quite bullish. Because if Brad said one thing and then went and did an interview and said another thing, and that's when their issues start to rise. But with Brad stating, we're going to end this year, we're going to get a resolution this year, this is the ending of the case this year, and then he goes on a Bloomberg interview and says the exact same things, he's standing by what he said. And remember, the first time Brad spoke about anything regarding Ripple versus SEC case matters, he said the first time he ever spoke about it, when he was asked the question of when we're going to get a resolution, he said, we're going to get a resolution in weeks, not months, is what Brad said. He said, we're going to get a resolution from the Ripple case, the XRP case with the SEC in weeks, not months. And within weeks, we had a resolution from Judge Torres saying that XRP is not a security. Moving forward until now, again, Brad has came out with a prediction and saying it's going to happen sooner than you think it's going to happen this year. And he's standing by what he said. All positive. So when do I think the case will end? This year. I think that Brad said that is we are more powerful than you. Yeah, I think that, yeah, exactly. Pretty much. So we have also came to the endings of tonight's live show as well. If you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. On tonight's live show, we went through the Ripple and Brad essentially talking about on Bloomberg interview. We talked about Putin and Bitcoin situation. We talked about the Bank of International Settlements new requirements. We talked about Kraken's custody expands to institutional clients in the UK and Australia following US launch. We talked about essentially in the Eurozone interest rates, are we going to have rate cuts or not in the EU? We talked about Greece launching crypto taxes, going towards crypto regulations. We talked about Ripple CEO unveiling share buybacks from their own company. We talked about essentially Italy's top banks going inside of issuing digital bonds, 25 million euros is what they're starting off with. We talked about Hong Kong unveiling a stablecoin, essentially issue a sandbox participation. We talked about the empty gold situation. Are people going to be selling when they get refunded their bitcoins? Most likely it's not. We talked about Argentina regulating essentially Argentina regulating their crypto market space as well, the same as Greece is doing. We talked about this, regarding the Trump and Bitcoin situation. Is the US going to be backing assets with Bitcoin? Or we have to see what Trump comes out with. We talked about the Ethereum spot ETF fee structures. Are they going to be lower, and are they going to be essentially some battles going on in terms of fees between essentially these companies? We also talked about the SEC Gary Gensler situation as usual. Gary Gensler being stubborn is what was going on there. So I think if you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. This is called the CMF live show. I'm so happy to be back. I've missed every single one of you, to be fairly honest. And this is episode 101 of the CMF live show. Good night, Miles, and all CMF. Thanks for all the news. Great to see you back, JP. Good to see you as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. See you tomorrow, or if I see you tomorrow, sometimes as usual as well. Good night, Miles. Nice to see you back again. Thank you, Mike. Let's go, Mike. See you tomorrow, sometime as usual. So glad you're back, Miles. Love the way you break everything down. Good night, brother. Let's go, Felix LP. Felix LP. See you tomorrow, sometime as usual as well. You know, Miles, I basically see the central bank for Canada on a daily basis and never see the one protest against what will be in the future in finance for all Canadians. The people are kept under wraps. Facts. The people are extremely occupied. Let's go free forever. And Felix LP, let's go. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. Free forever. See you tomorrow sometime as usual as well. I will be seeing everybody same time as usual. And again, if you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. Great to have you back, Miles. However, I am also very happy you had a break as well. Sleep well. Thank you. We missed you too. Night and day to all CMF. Shelly, let's go. Shelly, see you tomorrow same time as usual as well. Take care, Miles and CMF. Great to have you back, brother. Ray, let's go. See you tomorrow same time as usual as well. Glad you're back. Let's go. Ruben, see you tomorrow same time as usual. Good night, Miles and all CMF. Free forever. See you tomorrow same time as usual. Carol, see you tomorrow same time as usual as well. Good night, Miles and CMF. Let's go. If you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube and tune into it every single night. This is episode 101. So episode 102 will be on tomorrow's live show. And it's on X as well. If you're watching us on X, follow me on X and tune into every single night as well. Also, we have a Telegram group for this live show as well, which you're more than welcome to join. Completely free. Everything I do is completely free source. I will never charge you a single penny at all. So you can join a Telegram group as well. All the people inside the comment section right now that you're seeing inside this comment section are all CMF members. They're all essentially amazing people from around the world, very respectful people from around the world inside this Telegram group. So trust me, you would enjoy yourself inside this Telegram group. Now, and on this live show every single night, I talk about recent news that's happening in terms of around the world in terms of cryptocurrency, CBDCs, AI, politics, and so on. I break it down as well for you guys. Now, if you enjoyed this live show, drop a follow, drop a like, and tune into it every single night. We have came to the endings of this live show, which means I'm going to be doing the outro of this live show now, which is I will see everybody tomorrow, same timing as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you're around the world. CMF, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. See everybody tomorrow. CMF, see you tomorrow. Good night, brother. And CMF, Bill, see you tomorrow, same time as usual. Thanks, Miles. Have a great evening. Glad to have you back. Stormy, let's go. See you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. Bill, see you tomorrow, same time as usual as well. See everybody tomorrow, same time as usual. Everybody have a great day or a good night, depending on where you are around the world. CMF, see you tomorrow.